Okay, now we are in Reykjavik.
Reykjavik in
Reykjavik.
86. It was a super strong tournament, one of the strongest open at that time. Well, a lot of Soviet grandmaster played also, Tal, Geller, and so on. Larsen played also, very, very strong. And it was the pre-last round of the tournament, this one, our game.
Mhm.
I had to play with black against Predrag Nikolic. In that time, he represented Yugoslavia, and then afterwards he played for Holland, for the Dutch Federation, and he's still in Holland, I think. And okay, this line is also very interesting because it's move by move. He tried to demonstrate that white is better immediately after the draw by playing a new line. So the idea by taking immediately in e6, which is very ambitious, is to try to demonstrate that white can control with tempo the central square d5, which seems to be a little bit weak, and therefore white can be better immediately after the opening. But it's very complicated, and as always in King's Indian and Benoni, and it will come like a boomerang against white, in a few moves. You'll see immediately after the opening. Well, of course, he's not forced to take in e6, must play knight c3, and okay, the rest is well known. You see, we had a lot of examples. But here, okay, it's move by move. And okay, knight c3, knight d5. That was the first moment. Now what to do? Now, if you take immediately in d5, let's say with the bishop, of course, but with the knight you lose a piece.
Yes.
Yeah. If you take with the bishop in d5, white can hope to have a very strong initiative somehow. Yeah. For instance, you take there, white can take knight e7 or um, after knight e7, yeah,
Yes.
knight e7, very nasty surprise here, the move e4. Because you have no time to take in e4, it's almost made after bishop b5 check, you see. Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you are lost with black here already. After bishop b5, you can resign. You lose at least a piece, if not more, Yeah.
Yes.
So of course, and this is very clear. But he can also play knight b4. Knight b4 also is very good. He can transpose by giving you a pawn for a very strong initiative. The you know, strangely enough, the bishop from f1 becomes very good piece, afterwards, if you accept to take the pawn. But black is not forced to play like this. White, black continues to play like a Benoni, like a King's Indian, Okay, g6, okay, very good move. So now this is the novelty. Knight h3, trying to come with the other knight in f4, controlling as always this, twice the square d5, you know, the weak square d5. This was considered a little bit weak. So you see the rest. So okay, bishop g7. Okay, knight f4. Fantastic. He came. So after knight f4, everything is more or less forced. Now we come, to the rest of the idea. Black now accepts to take the blame now, but now is a very big difference because we could play already, like in any King's Indian or Benoni, our bishop in g7. We control the diagonal, we have a very normal position, and now we can accept the fact that, okay, we give him a small control of the central squares. Now, if he took with the c pawn, is a very good Benoni for black, where we have control on the all the squares from the queen side, and very big advantage on the central square also, and better development also with black, you see. So now if he wants something, he has to take with the queen. All right, he took with the queen. And now castle, and okay, e3. he understood now that if he played normal move like bishop g2, after knight d4, he was probably already almost lost, you see, instead of e3. Instead of e3, he could play bishop g2, normal,
Yes.
And after bishop g2, what happens after knight d4? Very unpleasant, because now we threaten knight c2 check, So if he castles, he loses with tempo the pawn in e2, with check, And afterwards, if you don't want something else, we can take the second pawn by taking in c1 and the pawn bishop takes b2,
Oh, okay.
Very, very strong advantage for black, So right, very unpleasant, but he played, he didn't like, but he played e3 to control the square d4,
He didn't
But
like
now-
because he lost the tempo or because he blocked?
No, but it's almost lost for white afterwards, If you lose immediately after the opening a pawn, and you play a strong opponent, it's finished, But now again it's very unpleasant. Now again it's almost lost for white because again we played with tempo knight before. Now you can't take queen b7, you lose immediately after knight c2 check. You can resign. You lose the
Yes.
rook. So he has to play queen d2. After queen d2, again the second surprise, queen a5. Again we threaten with tempo check, deadly check in c2. We lose the rook. What to do? And now look at the super grandmaster is forced to play this move in the opening. In King's Indian or in Benoni, you never have such a position with black. You see, here black is completely winning immediately after the opening. But this novelty from the opening to control the square d5, it was a boomerang. And now, it's a catastrophe, tactical catastrophe for white. Look at this. All the pieces on the normal square, h1, a1, c1, f1. He didn't move anything,
Yes.
He moved only with the queen many times and with the king in e2. All right. So, of course, black was very happy and I played queen a6. In my opinion, I was waiting him to resign in any moment here, So, okay, queen a6. And now what to do? After a3, the only move. So
we give
of
you
course,
another pawn?
No, I didn't have to take in c4. That was the problem. Until here, black was playing a perfect game. If I win this game, I win the super tournament from Reykjavik, clear, without any problem. Even if we come, even the last round with somebody, I have a fantastic bullhorse and I win the tournament, like this. And here you have to choose what to play. Here, black wins by force immediately by playing d5. Very simple move. If you play d5, you can resign. Has no move at all. You're threatening to take with the pawn in c4, with the queen in c4. What to do? After d5 is complete zugzwang. Probably he would resign in a few moves, you see. Nothing to play.
Why not take directly with the queen?
No, I took it, but it's not the best move.
It's not the best?
You win probably also, but not immediately, not immediately in 2-3 moves. You have to fight a little bit more and you have a chance to go wrong somewhere, in time trouble and so on. We are a little bit in time trouble here. But if you play d5, look, after d5 is nothing to play for white. After d5 is resignable, d5, for instance, here.
Yes.
He can't move. What can he move here? If he plays, for instance, a takes b4, he loses the rook. Exchange up for nothing for black, And the game continues.
Yes.
You take in c4, you play rook d8, and so on. The rook from h1 doesn't play. Terrible. Okay. He plays after d5, for instance, rook b1. Now, we analyze a little bit more. d5, rook b1.
Yes.
After rook b1, what happens? Queen takes c4. Queen takes c4, check. If he goes to f3, queen e4 check, and he loses both rooks, one of the both rooks,
Yes.
b1 or h1. Terrible, If he goes, for instance, to e1, it was a threat to give a check in king e1. Here, queen e4 again, attacking h1, b1, and threatening also knight c2 check.
Yes.
Nothing to do. And what happened here? I was thinking a little bit. I couldn't believe that I have such a position. I saw, of course, d5 now.
Yeah.
But in that moment, when I wanted to play d5, I don't know how, I touched the queen. So I have to move the queen now, So I took in c4.
There were too many possibilities.
The other one wins immediately. No.
Yes.
So I touched the queen, so I had to take in c4. And now, happily enough for him, he has some play. He could play a little bit, He's lost already. But the problem is that now after king f3, look at this again, terrible again. But even here, you have to trade queens. This is the problem, because you can't go back with the queen in a6. He controls the diagonal in a6. You have to move the queen because the knight is also attacked. So the only way to escape this is to trade queens. But if you trade queens, he can play a little bit. Has two bishops, he can play. Of course, black is winning, but not immediately. So okay, queen d5 check. We continue. Queen d5 check. Now he has time to takes, and if you compare the two positions, this is a dream position for white compared with the other one. The other one was, the complete catastrophe. So of course, if he moves back the king in e2, then he has the control of the diagonal. He can move the rook to d1. Okay, he can hope a little bit. You go wrong 2-3 moves, and maybe he escapes somehow. So it happened in our game, unfortunately. So knight c7. Even here, black is winning, of course, but it's not so easy, I tell you. All right, so rook d8, and here a4. He has to control the b5 square, because if black has time to play b5, again, terrible, all the black pawns are coming, you see. So, all right, rook e8. Maybe it was better to play immediately b6, okay, instead of rook e8. It was not necessary to play rook e8. b6, it was much better, because after a5, you push b5, and it was clearly winning for black, too many pawns coming, the bishop from c1 doesn't play, big advantage, and so on. Now it's a little bit more complicated, because he can play a little, Yeah. So rook a3, well, at least he plays, even he's lost, but he can play. All right, c4 doesn't give you the possibility rook d3 or rook b3, but now it's not so easy again, because strangely enough, the pawn from d5 is a little bit weak now for black, and it's not so easy to win, you see, especially if you compare it with the other line from before, the other one winning immediately in all cases. So rook a4. Okay, now he's threatening rook b4, and rook takes c4. Can you imagine? Unbelievable. He escapes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here, what did I play? Rook c6. All right, rook c6. e4. Okay, look at this. Finally, he can play a little bit.
Another boomerang.
No, he was lost all over the game, but unbelievable. Okay, so d4. Even here, black is winning. Must win. If you don't win this, of course. But it's not so easy again. It's not move, in 2-3 moves like before.
Yes.
So e5, okay, the last hope. All right, so rook c5. Okay, f4. Now it's more difficult, because now for the moment the bishop doesn't play the bishop from g7. You have to do something to free the bishop, In the meantime, he is threatening something, After such a deadly opening, for him. Here he threatens to take in b7. He threatens also maybe rook b4 and even bishop e3, Bishop e3, because you can't take in e3, it's pinned,
Yes.
So therefore the game is a little bit more difficult. Yeah. So f6 to arrive. Yeah. So he took, I took, and okay, he took. Okay, I tell you, dream position for white compared with the other one, from before. Yeah. So a6, he wanted maybe to come with a6 first, So g4, now it's complicated, it's not so easy, So what did I play here? Rook h. Well, terrible. The last moves are Okay. Finally, white escaped here. I'm sure that you can't win, or if you win, we win in such a very difficult way with black. Of course, I was very unhappy, because I couldn't forget what happened before in a few moves before.
Yes.
And finally, okay, the game finished in a draw, I think, in a few moves. After knight d5, what did he play here? He took. I took with the rook, and he played rook b6, okay. Rook b6, and, okay, bishop d8, he took there. and I took there. And what happened next? King f3. Now I tell you, it's very difficult to win. Even if you can win with white, but it's very, very difficult. Oh, with black, but it's very difficult. Probably very small chances, because at least he plays,
Yeah, he has activity.
Yeah, has activity. So now I have to play there and have time to come back to attack the pawn. And now the position is even.
Yeah.
All right. So after King G8, well, now look at this. He's even active in E4. The king from before.
Yes.
Okay. So and here what happened? Check and we repeated, or what happened here?
Let's see.
Yeah. What happened? Bishop there. I took, and okay.
You give up the exchange.
Yeah, but he has to go to give back the exchange in D2, and it's draw.
Yes, now
No,
it's
terrible game, terrible game. So, but not only this, the story goes further. Like, I mean, later on, of course, I didn't sleep the whole night. I was,
because you missed, you lost
no,
this.
I lost
win.
the tournament here. I mean, I lost the first place in
The
this
first
game.
place?
Yeah,
Because of this
alone.
draw?
Yeah, because I didn't win this. But
You won this, but you made.
if I won this game, it was clear that I win the tournament. But such a position, you can.
Yes.
If
earlier.
I played the Kasparov, for instance, or Karpov, nobody could save such a position against a very strong grandmaster.
Yes.
It was something to laugh. I mean, no pieces for white playing, and the king in E2 after the opening. By this super grandmaster. I mean, very strong grandmaster. No, terrible. All right, I didn't sleep the whole night. I have to present myself the second day to the last round. We play 9 o'clock in the morning. And, the story is like this. They didn't have the computers from today, but, very good referee knew how to have the pairings. It was forced for the last round. And the problem was like this. I had to play the last round against the Firmian from United States. I had 6-0 or 7-0 against the Firmian. Very good chance to win with white, And it was forced that Tal had to play with white against Nikolic. The 4 players playing for the first place, the last round.
Yeah.
There are some others with half a point less, that could join us in case that we drew, But it was by Buchholz. They gave the prizes by Buchholz, and Tal and myself had the best Buchholz of the tournament. So, right, what happens now? All right, finally I had a coffee in the morning or something. I present myself to see my opponent, and big surprise, I play with black the second time against Tal. No, very big mistake, of course. So, okay, I protested. Nobody could understand. Even Tal was unhappy, of course, that it was very big difference that if he plays with white against Nikolic or if he plays with white with me, because I told you before, in every game that we played, he couldn't win. Only once in Riga when I produced his suicide, by playing in that moment like this. All right, so I played with Tal. Okay, finally, of course, he had also to look at the chances. He understood that it was very big difference if he loses or he makes draw or he wins. So he played quietly enough like this, and we made a draw. Big fight, but draw. All right. So now everybody has to look what happens the decisive game of Nikolic. Playing with the Firmian. All right, he plays with the Firmian position, normal, no problem at all for the Firmian. He has an even game, and so he makes a blunder in the last move, and he loses the game, and Nikolic wins the tournament.
Wow!
Not that he wins the tournament alone.
Yeah.
But on the second place, Tal, Lars, and myself, 6 grandmasters, strong grandmasters like this. Everybody very unhappy because everybody lost a lot of money compared with the others.
I guess it was big difference between the first
very
place.
Big difference. It was like this. Tal and myself, we had, for instance, a very good because everybody won something a little bit less than 10,000. Nikolic alone, he won about 20,000, by playing this game against myself, the three
Yes,
last
yes,
rounds.
yes, yes, yes.
And the rest,
Mm.
they had a lot less, and probably the last two or three had something like 1,000. You can imagine, 20,000, 1,000, something, very
Yes,
big
big
difference.
difference.
Everybody very unhappy. Now, the last moment of this show, this night, that night we have the banquet later, and the chief referee comes, to me, trying to greet me like this, very friendly. And he said, "Well, excuse me, I made a very big mistake. We have to drink something, together." And so I said, "You have to go because I don't know what happens next." You see, okay, he excused himself.
But you lost.
There is all no. Everybody
Yes,
lost, and the only happy person was, of course, Nicholas, that
Nikolic.
he could win the tournament. Well, it's life, of course, it
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
But it was a very big mistake from the referee. Man. How can you do something like this? First of all, you can't give twice black. It doesn't matter who is the
Opponent.
grandmaster, the
No.
opponent. But it's against all the rules to repeat the colors in the last two decisive games.
rounds.
It's
Yeah.
impossible. With computer, without computer. It's impossible.
So
And
in a way, the
especially-
computer helps today. That
Well,
at least doesn't make
today
this
it
kind
helps
of.
a little. Maybe it makes a little somehow a small mistake, but not like this. This is
Yeah.
terrible. So it was the small story, the complete story.
Yes.
But
yes.
if you look, even now, if you look back at this position immediately after the opening, is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Super grandmaster like this to have such a position with the queen in d2, the king in 2, and the rest on the normal squares. F1, C1, H1, and A1. Not one move. Immediately
Exactly.
after the opening, by playing a very sharp line. He tries to control the squares and demonstrate that white is a little bit better immediately after the opening. Okay, it happens.
True.
One of the most unbelievable games that I had in my career.
It worked very well for him in the end.
For him, yes, fantastic. Well, the poor guy, he excused himself also, but he wasn't guilty. I was guilty that I touched the queen.
Yes, yes.
Well, it happens.
That's life.
It happens. It depends who is playing, because as a last joke, something similar happened once in a game between Kasparov and Judith Polgar. Also very high level, and Kasparov touched the piece. If he moves the piece, he doesn't win. It has no chance. So he looked a little bit, and he moved something else. A very big scandal afterwards. Of course, Judith protested and said, "No, it's not possible. The world champion doing something like this." Well, it's not true. He said, "I didn't touch anything." How you didn't touch? It happens also. From time to time.
Which game was that?
No, some big tournament like this, but in that time was a big scandal because, of course, Kasparov was the world champion.
Yeah.
And of course, depends of the person who is playing. I couldn't do something like this. I couldn't, make somehow that I didn't see, and I played d5. You can imagine. You can't do something like this. But without knowing, I don't know what happened, but I touched the piece. I had to move the queen.
Maybe you lost some concentration.
No, I was sure that I win the position. I was very happy and so on. And I forgot completely that, if you touch the piece, so it happened.
Yeah.
And the way to lose at least 10,000 and the first place.
Big money at that time.
At that time, of course. Yes, of course. But of course, now if you talk about this, it's a little bit funny. But in that time, it was not funny at all.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.